What's good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, and the QQQ. I'm going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be another important day for earnings and some very important levels to be watching for as we approach tomorrow. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with Tesla and the market. So, we had a very, very interesting day. I was talking about how Tesla had potential to try to bounce at this level, but we need to see Tesla break 250 for confirmation. And once it broke 250, you want to be watching 252.5 as we have some resistance there. But the next full measured move would have been this white trend line as resistance, which is very close to this 254 to 255 area, depending on the timing in which we would hit this. And I was talking about this balance potentially coming to Tesla, and that's what we ended up seeing for today. But the real question is now, will Tesla continue to bounce, or is Tesla about to get a very big rejection? This is going to be dependent on the news coming out for tomorrow and what happens with the earnings. However, I will talk about what's more likely based on what we're seeing so far. But first, let's talk about some news and data coming out for tomorrow. So, when it comes to data coming out, I just wanted to mention that looking at the data, we have some retail sales data coming out in the morning, some industrial production data coming out 15 minutes before the market opens. And besides that, some manufacturing numbers, which is nothing too significant, nothing too crazy. But then right before the market opens, we have Bowman giving a speech, and he may continue to do so as time goes on. And then later on, we have Barkin giving a speech about an hour and 15 minutes after the market opens. That's pretty much it for Tuesday. There's not really a whole lot going on, just two Fed speakers and some manufacturing numbers, nothing too crazy. But what's going to be more significant for tomorrow is going to be the earnings, as we have Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Johnson Johnson, just a couple of others. But Bank of America and Goldman Sachs are going to be the two big ones before the market ends up opening. I believe they could end up affecting the market and even like move the markets if they don't do too well for earnings or if they end up doing very well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with them, and that's going to be a big factor affecting Tesla and the markets. Now, as far as Tesla goes, the price price ratio is kind of flat as Tesla is performing quite equally with the markets. And overall, it's not doing too bad. But it's also not like the best compared to what we've seen from before. So we're going to be watching how it ends up moving, approaching its earnings. On a daily seasonality basis, it tends to be green about 51% of the time on Tuesdays. So it's a little bit more than average. And we tend to see more hourly seasonality during the second and fourth hours of the day. And last but not least, I just want to call out that the volume is dropping a little bit, only 89 million, but Tesla managed to pump on low volume as we may be seeing some short covering as we're approaching earnings. We will see if this changes as well. I also wanted to add when it comes to news coming out, there was some news about how Kathy Wood is saying that what we're about to see from Tesla is very bullish price action for the longer term and it's going to trump Nvidia in her opinion. She's saying that Tesla is going to make a very, very nice run up, just like that of Nvidia, if not even bigger. And she's still very, very bullish. That's pretty much it for the news for now. And we're going to be approaching earnings very soon. So I will be talking more about earnings tomorrow. But for now, I just want to focus on Tesla and talk about how it's looking. So, how is this looking from a technical standpoint? We have a possible inverse head and shoulders like structure on Tesla. And we have these imbalances on the left side, which could lead to more upside. On the 30 minutes time frame, we have these imbalances approaching this 257 area, not to mention 260. And the odds do favor more upside as Tesla's been making higher highs and higher lows. On the 4 hour time frame, we also have a potential crossover on the PPO developing. So the PPO is becoming more and more bullish as we're trying to break above the 200 EMA. So the odds do favor more upside for Tesla. So I have the bullish and bearish cases out here, but here's what you have to watch for. Going into tomorrow, if you're really bullish, you want to see Tesla break this white trend line. So we had this resistance, which is where the white trend line happens to be. You guys can see it right here. If we break this, I think Tesla's going to be pushing towards 257.5. And if we break that, I think 260 is coming. That's going to be the full measured move for the inverse head and shoulders. And if you're bearish, if you have some bad news coming out, if Goldman Sachs and Bank of America end up missing on earnings, the bearish case would be Tesla kind of like rejecting off this white trend line, coming right back down towards this 246 area if we break below 250. Now, that's the bullish case and that's the bearish case. What is more likely to happen, in my opinion? Well, like I just said earlier, we have a nice inverse head and shoulders on Tesla. We have a potential bullish crossover on the PPO. And historically, Tesla does have a tendency of pumping right before earnings. That's what tends to happen. So I would say that the odds greatly favor Tesla, trying to break this white trend line and pushing up towards 260. I think there's a good chance of that happening looking at the current trend as Tesla's trying to break out. And it looks like Tesla is seeing higher highs and higher lows coming in and possibly even more short covering right before earnings. So we will have to wait and see. I mean, it could be very mixed too. Some shorts will also pile back in, but we tend to see buyers stepping in amidst earnings. We will see what happens with that. And with implied volatility going up, all I could really tell you all is to be very careful with IV crush after earnings, which is what tends to happen almost every single time. So we will see what happens with Tesla. Just know that the odds favor the upside, and I do believe it's going to make an attempt to break this and get very close to 260. But just to be safe, watch for confirmation to see if Tesla can break this trend line or not. All right, so the odds favor upside, but we'll have to wait and see what happens as time goes on. As far as SPY goes, I just wanted to call out that SPY has a pennant forming. The bearish case would be us breaking below 435.5. If that breaks, it's going to come all the way back down towards 434.25. If we're bullish, you want to see a bullish break like this, and you want to see it actually break above this high right here and hold 437, not just kind of like form a wick where we hit 437 then just reject. We want to break and hold 437. If it does so, I think it's going to be pushing all the way up towards this imbalance at 438.5. I think that's going to be coming for SPY if we break and hold 437. So watch support and resistance very carefully. What is more likely to happen? My guts tells me that this is going to be a bullish breakout from this pennant, and I think that SPY is going to try to break out towards 438.5. I think Bank of America and Goldman Sachs are more likely to do well for earnings, but just to be safe, we'll have to wait and see. Just wait for confirmation, see which level we break. But I just want to call out that I think the odds do favor, from a technical standpoint, the green breakout I have right over here that's mapped out. And I think it's going to take us to the full measured 438.5 most likely. For the QQQ, it's basically very similar. This thing may continue to pump, especially with Tesla as we approach its earnings. We have a bullish wedge developing on the QQQ. If we lose this trend line, we end up breaking below 368. That's going to be confirmation for a break to the downside. If 368.75, ends up breaking, I could see this thing sinking towards 366. If it manages to hold this pennant, because we're forming a bullish structure right now, so the odds do favor the upside. But if we do get that breakout, right, you want to see it break and hold 370.5. If we do so, watch this thing fly towards 372. What is more likely? My guts tells me it's the green trend line. We're going to see more upside. Looking at this bullish structure, we have a bullish pattern developing. We have an inverse head and shoulders as well. Let me show you the inverse head and shoulder right here. It's a little bit easier to see on TradingView because on Webull because the candlesticks look a little different. But basically, right here, right, this is looking like an inverse head and shoulders. So it may kind of come down a little tomorrow morning and start pushing up towards this imbalance fill at 372. So I do believe the odds favor the upside from a technical standpoint. We just have to wait and see if Goldman Sachs and Bank of America contribute or not to this. So the odds do favor upside for the QQQ, possibly because of Tesla pumping. What about Nvidia? How is Nvidia looking? The answer is we're at resistance right now, right here at this megaphone like pattern, but it doesn't really matter because if we get this rejection, if we reject off this 461 resistance, it's going to come back down towards 455. If we break above it, right, if we end up like what I would anticipate is this thing kind of gapping down towards like 458 and then trying to break out. If we break this megaphone pattern, expect to move towards 465. If that breaks, watch these imbalances towards 468. My guts tells me that the odds favor more upside, but just to be safe, wait and see if we can break this yellow trend line of resistance. If Nvidia breaks this resistance, which happens to be very close to this 460 to 461 range, depending on the timing, I think 465 plus is coming. If we reject off this, it's going to come all the way back down towards 456. So watch that carefully tomorrow. I think the odds favor the upside, and I'm leaning a bit more bullish. But just to be safe, watch the trend line for confirmation. Now, last but not least, I'm going to just talk about Apple and end the video from here, guys. The reason for that is I'm not doing the best. I haven't really slept much for the past 2 days, actually. I need some rest. So that's also one of the main reasons why I didn't give you guys an intraday update video. So I need to get some rest, which is why I'm going to end the video after this Apple update. And from here on out, I just want to mention that I'm going to be resting a lot more and I'll be back and very, very sharp tomorrow. I'll be back with very, very good amounts of sleep. I'll be well rested and revived. So don't worry, guys, I'll be fine. But for now, when it comes to Apple, I just wanted to call out that we have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure, also a possible head and shoulders. So there are two different ways you can interpret this. Basically, we're going to start off. Let me just kind of clear these just to show you what I'm talking about. So let's just say that, Apple is developing a head and shoulders, right? You could also interpret this. Uh, if that's going to be the case, right? Just hypothetically, even if that's about to happen, there's going to be a push to the upside for the right shoulder that has to happen towards this 180 area before it breaks down. Even if we are super bearish on Apple, this could still be a head and shoulders, but the right shoulder still has more room to form for upside. So there could still be a push coming anyways. But if we kind of ignore that for now and just focus on what's developing for now, you will see something new developing on Apple. Basically, if you look at the 30 minutes time frame, you will see we actually have an inverse head and shoulders right here. So for the much smaller time frames, I think the odds do favor this playing out. Right, we have this nice head that developed at this 175 test this morning, a left shoulder and a right shoulder confirmed, most likely as long as it holds. So I think the odds favor Apple pushing towards 180 and potentially breaking that to 182. So the bullish case would be Apple basically getting a back test at 178 and pushing up towards 180 tomorrow. And if we break it, 182 could be on the table, especially if we get above 181.5. So a move like this, I know I'm kind of extending this a little too much, but it could always reject anyways. It's very important to be looking at it from this perspective. I think we could be watching for a nice push up towards 182 on Apple. And then with that potentially forming, right, with Apple potentially making a nice move like that, it could always reject off 182. I just wanted to hypothetically show you guys this possibility. Uh, and then with that potentially forming, the bearish case would be Apple ending up seeing bad earnings, bad news, and it starts sinking right back down towards this support at 177.5 and failing, and then coming down to 176 like this. So that's the bearish case. We have a bearish case and a bullish case. My guts is telling me that we're more likely to see the bullish case play out, us getting to at least 180. It doesn't have to be 182, maybe at least 180. We could be either forming a right shoulder, or we could just see Apple trying to play out this inverse head and shoulders, which would take us towards this imbalance at least around 182, I would say, at least 181 at the very least if the inverse head and shoulders plays out. So I think we're at least going to make our way up to 180 on Apple, a back test of 180 at the very least. We could go up even higher if we break that. So if we break it, watch 181.5 then 182 as resistance. So anyways, guys, that's what I have for this video. I think the odds favor upside for Tesla, Apple, Nvda, and all these different tickers a little bit more going into tomorrow, but that does not guarantee anything about the markets as things could change later on during the week. So don't forget, once again, watch resistance levels very carefully. Watch Tesla as it has earnings coming out over the next 2 days. And for now, Tesla has an inverse head and shoulders. I do think the odds favor, a nice break to the upside on Tesla. So we're going to be watching to see if Tesla could develop these structures. And then don't forget that for earnings, we have Bank of America and Goldman Sachs coming out an hour before the market opens or so. So I will be talking about those tomorrow morning. And until then, I thank you all for listening. I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow, and peace out.